You're listening to an AINC original podcast. We believe you don't have to do life without a compass. Let us be your guide on this amazing journey. Welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for Navigating Life with Vision Loss. I'm your host, Kim Wardlow. This program is brought to you by the Audio Information Network of Colorado. Last week, we spoke with Kim Owens. If you haven't listened to that episode, I would encourage you to do so. She was speaking about the journey they've had as a family with their son Kai as he lost vision and some of the things he's dealt with. He graduated valedictorian. He is being very successful in a large college now, large university, playing sports, doing all kinds of things as a young man with his life. So it was a very, very good interview. So I encourage you to listen to that. But we're following that now today. Along those lines, my guest today is Cindy Price. And she's the mother of four. She's worked in education for nearly 30 years, everything from homeschooling, youth correctional facilities, private and public schools, both being a teacher and an administrator. And she's currently a professor at Metropolitan State University, working in the Alternative Teacher Licensure Program, helping working professionals to gain their teaching credentials to be able to teach in schools. I know a couple of people who've done that, so it's a very exciting program. So, Cindy, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, Kim, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. So, as I alluded to, we're kind of following on from some of the things that Kim Owens and I talked about last week, of being able to allow your child, even if they were born blind or are losing vision, to really be able to set them up for success. And we set up the show today last week with saying we're going to talk about the power of yes and no. And so those are two really important words, just generally, but when you're parenting, that can be really important. So what is your kind of philosophy or what you think about when you're thinking about the power of yes and no as you're parenting and from an educator's perspective?
Absolutely. Well, I have always admired in children and people everywhere our desire to be curious and creative and innovative and exploring. And it's so important as parents and educators that we allow our kids and even the grown-ups to experience as many things as they possibly can and explore all kinds of different things. When we tell our kids yes, it gives them kind of an excitement about life and about what they are capable of doing and what they can explore and what they can experience. So many times as parents, it is an exhausting job. It's the most amazing job ever and the most important job any human will ever do to raise little children and turn them into functioning, well-adjusted, amazing adults. But it's not an easy job to do. And most parents now, many parents are working other jobs and, there's laundry and dishes and food preparation and running kids here and there and everywhere. And it can be very tiring. So when our children say, hey, can I paint the sidewalk or the driveway? And we go, no. Mm-mm. And the reason we do that is because we're tired and we have a legitimate reason for being tired. But when we can say yes to those kind of crazy opportunities for kids to be creative and explore, it gives them kind of an outlet to continue to be creative and to explore. kids are designed to be that way. That's how they learn. They may ask to have ketchup with their peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and we should say, yes, absolutely. Because they want to try any kind of new things. You've seen 5 and 6-year-olds. We've all seen this, and our own kids have done this where they have an opportunity to get their pop out of a machine, and they get a little bit from every single flavor. And we just look at them and go like, that is crazy. But we know that as adults because we did it and we already tried it and we figured out that it tastes gross.
But they don't know that yet.
They don't know that yet. And so for us to just say, no, don't do that. Just get your root beer or whatever it is. They need to finally kind of discover that, oh, yeah, that doesn't really taste that good. And it's okay because we're telling them yes in a safe way. Sometimes we as parents also are trying to be very protective because, it's very dangerous out there.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to protect them and keep them safe. And yes, that is definitely our responsibility as a parent. But we also have to allow them to take some little bit of risk depending on their age. Because if we let them, build a bike ramp and then the bike ramp falls down and they skin their knee, that is a much safer risk. It's a manageable risk. And it helps the child to know, oh, I needed to shore that up better, or I needed to hit that ramp more in the center instead of on the side. They kind of learn some stuff about science and the world and how things work and their own skills and their own abilities. And they may skin their knee, but we would sure rather them learn about carelessness with a skinned knee than in a big car accident when they're 16. So saying yes and letting them understand some of the risks and giving them opportunities to fail in a safe way really helps our children to learn for themselves how to be careful and how to manage risk and what their likes and dislikes are and where their strengths and abilities are. So there's so many ways that saying yes opens up a whole amazing world for children.
Well, and even just the concept of being able to fail forward. So being able to encourage a child, well, yes, your ramp collapsed, you hurt your knee, but that doesn't mean you don't ever get on your bike again or you don't ever build a ramp again, to kind of help them learn and not sometimes not doing something again is the right choice, but sometimes, doing something again and not just saying, well, now I'm afraid I won't do it again.
Exactly.
Sometimes they need that encouragement as well.
Yes. One of my favorite quotes, and I might be saying this kind of not 100% right, but it's from Thomas Edison when he was trying to, he had so many amazing inventions. And so people would always ask him, well, how does it feel that you haven't figured it out after 800 times or 900 times? And his response was, I have not failed. I've just found 999 ways that it won't work.
Right.
So that is such a positive way to look at things like, oh, my bike ramp didn't work that way. I need to have more supports on the side, or I need to hit it in a different spot, or I need to make it not quite so tall this time. So failing forward and making those mistakes is how we learn and how we become strong and how we become confident as adults. And we still need to fail forward as adults.
Yeah. Well, and I think with a child who has vision loss or other disabilities or conditions, it can take some work trying to figure out which adaptations, how to make things accessible to them. So it might take some experimentation even just with that if you're looking. There's so many great things out there, but I think it's still, I still see folks kind of trying to figure out, well, how can I do this sport, or how can I do, something artwork or, something safely
Yes, absolutely. And, it's the power of yes that has helped folks with disabilities be successful in sports and downhill skiing and car racing and swimming and all of the amazing things. Humans we're way more capable, whether we have a disability or not, we're way more capable than sometimes what people believe we can be. And so encouraging people to go for their dreams no matter what, because we all have disabilities, every one of us. I have a disability that I can't, I am totally directionally challenged. So I have to have help from Siri to tell me where I'm going. And not only does she tell it so I can hear it, but there's also a little map that I'm following so I can see which way is right and which way is left, because I get it confused all the time. So, just having those extra supports for every single person to know, like, what do we need? What support do we need to be successful? And helping kids be able to do that really sets them free to explore this amazing, beautiful world.
Maybe we can talk a little bit now about the power of no, because if you're trying to say yes, there obviously are times you say no. Mm-hmm. And I think you had commented before we got on the air, you commented that, well, if you're able to say yes most of the time, then when you do need to say no,
yes,
it carries more weight. And there are those times.
Absolutely. When we're able to say yes, we give all people, children, adults, teenagers, opportunities to try things. And then when we want to try something, or our child or our teenager or our student wants to do something that we know is potentially very dangerous, then our no is going to have so much more impact because we've said yes so many times. And so I generally kind of make it in my own, and I guess this would be, every person would have to know what their boundaries were for no, but if what the person wants to do is very unsafe and there's a high risk of danger, such as running with a knife or playing in the middle of the interstate or driving a car when you're only 10, those are things that we would need to say no to, because the risk of failure is higher than what would be safe. Mm-hmm. And also, the other reason to say no is if there's some moral objection, according to your faith or your beliefs. We wouldn't want to encourage them to steal or, mm-hmm. Murder somebody, or
right.
Like there's things that we would have moral objections to, and we would need to explain to them like why that's not appropriate and why we don't do that. And so those are some of the main reasons. That's why kind of managing the risk. So a small risk where they might get a skinned knee, or maybe when they're older, they might even, break their arm. Those are still small risks compared to getting in a serious car accident, or, like you think about
getting in jail or something.
Yes, exactly. Going to jail. And that's what we're trying to avoid by allowing them to discover where the safety is and where they're comfortable with their own risk and why we do or don't do something.
And so then saying no is also a learning opportunity. It's mm-hmm. not just saying no. It's explaining why and the process so that the child can also learn that critical thinking of, okay, I have to make a choice. Mm-hmm. If I'm deciding for myself, yes or no, like when should I be saying no? So that's also a learning opportunity.
Yes, the critical thinking, the being able to judge for yourself and understand your own strengths and abilities, and whether or not you could really actually safely do something. A child needs to know, okay, I know that I can do this ramp, but I don't know that I can do this straight up incline. So they have to be able to kind of gradually figure that out in calculated risk.
Mm-hmm. So parents are doing this at home. You know, they're trying to provide opportunities for their children at home, and activities and all the things they're doing. But then, of course, especially here we are in the fall with school starting, they're spending a lot of their time during the day at school. And so how do parents work with the teachers, the administrators in their schools? And I know it varies too, what resources are available in urban, areas versus rural areas. Kim Owens last week was talking from the perspective of a rural area. But if you have a child, that every child needs to have that accessible education. And if the child needs something a little bit different done so that the education is accessible for them, what would you advise parents, having been in the various types of school systems you have, to successfully interact with their teachers and administrators?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, one of the most wonderful things that's happening in education in the last few years, or last quite a little while in education, is the acceptance of all kinds of people with all kinds of different needs and disabilities. It used to be when I was a kid, even if you had glasses, you were made fun of and called four eyes and called names and like, oh my goodness, it was the end of the world. And now we have kiddos in wheelchairs and with different kind of, support in so many different ways. And kids are so much more accepting now of children with disabilities, and they're helpful. It's a huge improvement. And I think we as a society have improved greatly in that area. Now, schools are still struggling in a lot of areas, but that is one area that I can definitely say has shown a huge amount of improvement. So that is super exciting. As a parent, it is so important that you be an advocate for your child, that you speak up for your child, that you believe in your child, and that you make sure that the school is providing what your child needs. You may have opportunities as a parent to look at what it would mean for your child to be on an IEP or to get the additional support that they need. And those come with quite a bit of data and experimentation. And so talking to your child about what they feel they need, and your child as a parent, you know them better than anybody, and what motivates them, what scares them, what sets them back. And so being an advocate for your child and working with the teachers and administrators to make sure your student has what they need is going to be critical. And when the expertise of an educator and the expertise of a parent comes together, it's a winning combination for every kid when you have those two kinds of experts. So many times parents with children that have disabilities, and actually it's a little known secret that all parents feel a little bit insecure, like maybe they did something wrong, or maybe we didn't do enough, or we feel sometimes insecure about how we're doing as a parent. And so sometimes as parents, it keeps us from really pushing forward to advocate for our kids. But I just want to encourage you that you as a parent are doing a phenomenal job, and nobody could do it any better than you. You are perfectly capable of being everything that your child needs you to be. And so when you go in with confidence to these educated people who seem to have all the answers, you're the one that has the answers as a parent. You're the expert in your child. And so it's important that you know that, and you believe that, and you realize that. And then you can be a partner with the educators who have ideas about the resources and the supports that are available. Because what's really great, it's something that we have kind of, as educators, uncovered in the last several years, is a principle called universal design, where we do our best to provide opportunities for every child to be successful. So when we have a child who has a vision impairment, for example, we may need to teach them how to use the computer and be able to expand a picture or make the words bigger or do different things with technology. We may provide them larger print books or pass out materials that are larger print, or we may have a big bulletin board or something with large pictures and large words that make it easier for a child with a vision situation, makes it easier for them to see. But also that is also going to help lots of kids in the classroom. And what's wonderful about universal design is finding ways that help individual children. Turns out it actually helps lots of kids. And that's what's so great. I kind of relate it to if we have to climb 5 flights of stairs, for example, and we many people can do that without a handrail. We just truck up well, maybe not I, but lots of people truck up the 5 flights of stairs and never need to touch the handrail. But a handrail is there because it's going to provide support, stability, an opportunity to catch your balance if you need to, and just sort of a safety measure just in case you need it, in case you're feeling a little wobbly or you need to just take a break, or if you're carrying something and you just need to lean on it for a second and catch your breath. That handrail, while not everybody needs it, it's there for everybody, and it helps everybody feel safer and gives everybody an opportunity to climb those stairs in a safer way so that everyone can be successful. Because we're not using the handrail to drag ourselves up 5 flights of stairs. That's not what the handrail is there for. It's still going to be really hard to climb 5 flights of stairs with a handrail, but the handrail gives us an opportunity to pause, to feel safe, to catch our balance, to keep us secure. And that's what so many of the things that we do in education, we are trying to make sure that we're providing the supports and the stability so that every kid can be successful. And the support helps not only the children with disabilities, but it also helps, everybody else, because at some point we all need a little extra help.
That's so true. If a parent feels like their child needs an IEP or needs accommodations to make things accessible for them, how does that process start? I could see where that might the first time you do it might seem a little bit intimidating.
Oh, yes. And so that's a great question. And so if a parent or an educator feels like a child needs an IEP, and there's several kind of legal type documentation or programs that we can put on a child or use for a child. An IEP stands for an individual educational plan. And it is a legal document, and teachers are legally required to make sure that they are providing the accommodations that the child needs. But there's also something called a 504. That tends to be a little bit more medical in nature. So if a child needs an EpiPen, for example, if they're allergic to bees or something, or peanut butter or whatever, and they might need a medical type intervention. And so sometimes vision loss is more of a medical thing, and they might need something with that. And then sometimes they might need the academic support. So there's a couple of different ways that works. So some of the first things that happen are that teachers collect data. They look at how is the child doing in each of their classes, how are they doing without any support at all? And have they used any of the universal design type supports that are good for everybody? Are any of those working, or do they need something more? So if they need something more, they collect all the data. They also make sure that they get input from doctors, from therapists, from counselors, from parents and family members to look at, okay, here's our precious child, and also getting information from that precious child, of course, about what's going to help them to be successful. And so they have a meeting, an initial IEP meeting, and they talk about this child is really, really great at that, and they need maybe some support with this area. But they can do this on their own, or maybe they need to be released a little bit early so they can navigate the hallway without a bunch of kids in the hallway. So there's different ideas that people come up with to help support. And then everybody is in agreement. And as parents, that's your time to speak up and say, this is what my kid needs. This is what my child, this is how they feel successful. They can do this part on their own, but they're going to need some help here. So that's your time as a parent that's where you jump in as your child's expert and your child's advocate and your child's support, and really let people know what's going to help your child to be successful. And then after that, they put that all together in the actual official document called the Individual Education Plan, or an IEP. And then all the teachers kind of get a copy of that. The parent approves that and agrees that this is going to work, or you can make any tweaks or changes that you need to. And then teachers start implementing that in their classrooms and making sure. And then there are times, at least once a year, but you can do this at any time that you need to. You can reevaluate and say, okay, this isn't working as well as we thought it would. Here's a little tweak that we need to add to it, or my child no longer needs this support, or maybe they need additional support. And so there's opportunities for you to adjust that IEP and make sure that it is meeting your child's needs to the best of anyone's ability.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for kind of walking us through that process. I know in our last few minutes, a thought has occurred to me: what if we flip the situation around, and the parent is blind or has some vision loss, or perhaps another disability, and the parent is now trying to interact with their child, and perhaps the child may or may not have a disability of their own, but the parent is needing some accommodation or is needing to get information in an alternative format or something like that. Do you have any recommendations, or what are those expectations from a parent who has some vision loss as they're trying to interact with the school systems?
Right. So for parents who are trying to interact and have their own situations, parents can always bring in a friend or an advocate for them. I have actually done this with my good friend who has a child with a disability, and she was kind of uncomfortable with the whole situation. And so I went in kind of as her advocate to make sure that she was able to express herself and say what she needed to say, and kind of just there as a buddy to give her confidence. So a parent at any time, you can bring in a family member, your best friend, your neighbor, whoever understands you and your situation and can help navigate things for you. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help. Every person on the planet needs help, and there's nothing to be ashamed of about that. We need each other as people, as human beings. And so I would encourage parents to always ask for help and make sure that there's somebody there with you that can, somebody that encourages you, understands what you're trying to say, and really knows your point of view and your perspective. that is always welcome, always available. So hopefully that helps out.
Yeah. And do you think a teacher, I'm thinking of teacher specifically, but it could be an administrator, would be receptive if a parent said, could you send me this document in large print, or your document, what you're providing me with information about my child has all sorts of charts or things that
Absolutely.
that my screen reader won't read. Can you put alt text in there?
Absolutely.
Those kinds of things.
Yes, absolutely. Teachers always consider it like the most exciting thing when a parent cares about their child and they care about their child's education and they're asking for help to be a partner with the teacher. Oh my goodness, that makes a teacher's day. So yes, teachers will bend over backwards, and teachers truly are some of the most creative, innovative people because they're in the profession because they love kids and they love people, and they certainly love parents who are wanting to be engaged with their child's education. So teachers are going to go out of their way to make sure that you have everything you need as a parent to help your child be successful. So never hesitate to ask. You're not a burden. It's not a problem. Teachers can do that fairly easily and with great joy and excitement. They would absolutely call that a win for the day, for sure. As parents reach out and say, hey, can I have something a little bit different? They'll go, yes, because that is the power of yes. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Yes, you can. And that is always an exciting day when that happens.
All right. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for sharing on both of those perspectives of parents and children. And the power of yes, really for all of us. Sometimes we need to tell ourselves yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We need to tell ourselves yes a whole lot more often, that yes, we can do this. Yes, we can try this. And yes, I can accomplish something difficult. Yes, we can. Absolutely.
Yes, we can. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for being with us and providing this information to our listeners. I hope all of you found this helpful, and we have one more week of parenting after this before we start our next topic. So please tune in next week and listen to next week's podcast as well. And we hope all of this information is helping you navigate your life or the life of your child with vision loss.